What's your earliest memories with the horses for you?
I think it was 1977. My dad, who was a great trainer, Jose Martin, had a champion filly called Lakeville Miss. And I was about 7 years old, and he was running in a race called the Coaching Club American Oaks, which is like the equivalent to the Belmont Stakes for fillies. It was a classic race at Belmont, going a mile and a half. And that day, Lakeville Miss won by 7 lengths, and the whole thing was just so, enthralling and exhilarating. And, having my dad there and winning a big race and going to the trustees' room and drinking champagne. Many years later, I found out how hard it is to win a Grade 1 after I won one initially, and then it took me 25 years to win my next one. But just the whole ambiance and the romance of being close to my father and having something that I thought we could, really fall in love with, and watching him do his magic with fillies. And ever since Lakeville Miss that day, I was hooked. Winning a Grade 1 the first time ever at Belmont, I think would probably hook anybody. I've been very fortunate and blessed, to find something I love, and obviously they facilitated it. I wish they were still around. I miss them. My grandfather came from Cuba. I think his first big win was 1959. He won a $100,000 stake with a horse called Manasseh Mauler, which was a big deal, the Wood Memorial, one of the biggest races. And to win it with a horse that he claimed, was an amazing thing. Manasseh Mauler was named after the champion fighter Jack Dempsey, and Jack Dempsey would come and see the horse. And, it was just unbelievable to claim a horse, win the Wood Memorial, beat a champion horse called First Landing from Meadow Stable, the people that own Secretariat. And then he was on his way, 10 straight years leading trainer in New York, trained a great horse called Sham, who unfortunately ran against probably the greatest horse that ever lived, Secretariat. And Frank Martin was definitely a legend in New York racing. And then my father, unfortunately, like I said, we lost him at 63, but he trained 3 champions. He had the champion sprinter Groovy 1987. He had the champion filly in 1981, Where It Lasts. He had Lakeville Miss that was the champion 2-year-old filly of 77, and he won almost every big filly race there was in New York. He was great with fillies. He took a lot of time and patience, and he took horses that nobody wanted, and he developed them, and he took fillies that didn't have the best breeding, and he beat the best. He just had a gift for fillies. So it was special watching them do their thing, and watching my father. I spent a lot more time with him than my grandfather. My grandfather, you just learned by example, just a dedicated guy. Till the day he died, he was up 7 days a week, 3:30 in the morning. He just loved it.
And what was the road for you when you say, what, I'm gonna take this serious? Who was a mentor? Was it somebody in your family, or was somebody on the track that took a liking to you and kind of?
I think my father mainly, and Mr. Lizza. Mr. Lizza was a big part of our life, Flying Z stable. He was the leading owner with my father in 1981. Carl Lizza, he was a great man, and we'd always talk horses, and he taught me a lot about pedigrees and, just getting close with him. And then later on, when my father passed, he left all the horses with me. He was a big support of mine, and, so I miss him. Also, he was a great man. We would talk horses all day. He wasn't just a client; he was a friend. So having him in my life, and my dad, my grandfather, it was natural for me to stay in the game. I'm proud of that. I'm sure a lot of people, when I lost them, they were my main mentors, probably said this guy might not make it past losing Jose Martin and Frank Martin, a couple of years apart. But I'm proud that we're still here. 800 races. Won a couple of Grade 1s, have some great clients, trained for Mark Holliday, the chairman of NYRA, so it's all positive.
How important is the men and women that wake up every day and do this?
I mean, this is everything. If you don't have the staff, if you don't have the people that have been with me, mainly they've been with me 20, 25, 30 years. I'm proud of the fact that we have the same people that, we treat them with respect, and they respect the horses. And, there's no I in team, and if it wasn't for them, there would be no horse racing, obviously. They put the show on. The trainers and the owners, it's great. We all try our best, but at the end of the day, the grooms and the hot walkers and exercise riders, they're the ones that are putting the long hours. We put in long hours too, but they're really into it, and they love the horses. They're not doing it for money. They're doing it for the love of the animal.
And what's your favorite moment in this life for you, horse racing all the time?
I think for me, personally, when I won the Grade 1, the ballerina, Mark Holliday was a big part also. When Mr. Lizard died, he kind of took up and supported the program when we got down from 30 horses to 3 horses, Blue Devil Racing. So to win the Grade 1 ballerina with Come Dancing on Travers Day in 2019 was special, and watching my father, of course, bring back Groovy after he got beat as a 3-year-old in the Breeders' Cup with a knee surgery, and to bring him back as a 4-year-old in 1987 and win 6 stakes in a row and only lose 1 race, just a special time in 1987.
What was so special about the Horsemen from that era that you're talking about? Like, you hear about the horse guys, the grooms. What was that? What was so special about these people?
Well, I think, first of all, the super trainers are amazing. Don't get me wrong. But, they have 200 horses. They can train. Obviously, they're the best, but they're training a group of select horses. they didn't have 200 horses back then. You had 30, 40 horses was the limit. So they had to do and keep those horses and make sure that those horses were around. Now, they have all these great horses. They come in, they come out, they do what they can, but it's a little bit of a different system. Back then, Woody Stevens would have 36 horses and he won 5 Belmonts. My grandfather was leading trainer 10 straight years and there was a 44 horse limit. So just the whole thing in general was just different,
And who was the best jockey you seen ride a horse?
I mean, I was always a Cordero fan. My father and my grandfather always had a lot of luck with Angel. He was great. I mean, Angel Cordero for me always would be the best jockey that ever lived.
And beside your father, you or your grandfather, who goes down as the best trainer all the time?
Well, my favorite trainer, obviously, growing up was Alan Jerkins. Watching him because he also overachieved with a lot of great horses, had a lot of great clients, but did a lot with less. So, the Chief, his son Jimmy Jerkins, were very, become good friends over the years. And as far as, right now, a guy like Billy Mott, I've always idolized, how he does things. Just a really, really thoughtful trainer. The horses always come first. So I would think, following, trying to see what those guys do over the years, watching Shug McGahee, Billy Mott, all these great trainers, they have one thing in common. They all do what's right for the horse, first and foremost. And they probably lost a lot of great clients along the way. And that's one thing my dad always stressed. If they can't take the good news and the bad news in this business, you're just going to be a fraud if you push on and hurt a horse. You have to tell the truth, and hopefully that horse comes first, and they'll repay you in the long run.
And the Chief, what kind of guy was the Chief, man?
He was cool. He was a man's man. He'd work all day. He'd go out for the same place in Long Island for dinner. He'd play football. He'd hang out with the guys. He was just an awesome person all around.